Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special story time. I'm so happy you're here because today we're going somewhere magical and a little bit mysterious. This is the tale of a brave little girl named Ruby, her singing lambs, and a terrifying green monster that came silently in the night. One by one, her friends began to disappear, and no one knew why. But Ruby wasn't about to let fear win. With a clever plan and a heart full of music, she set out to face the darkness. Have you ever felt like something was wrong, even if no one else could see it? That's exactly how Ruby felt. And she decided to do something about it. Let's begin. Once upon a time, in a sunny little valley, there lived a girl named Ruby. She was just 7 years old, but oh, she was clever and kind, with braided chestnut hair tied with 2 bright red ribbons that bounced when she skipped. Ruby lived on a farm that sparkled in the morning light. There were green rolling hills, rows of apple trees, a white wooden windmill that creaked gently in the breeze, and most special of all, her lambs, fluffy, cheerful, and always up to something silly. Ruby's lambs loved to sing. Yes, sing! They would bleat in rhythm and hum in harmony. Some would tap their little hooves on wooden buckets. Others sang softly under the old oak tree. Ruby knew each of their voices by heart. Every morning, she put on her red dress with puffed sleeves and her white apron and walked out with a warm pail of oats, calling out, "Good morning, my sweet cloud puffs!" And all the lambs would run to her, bowing joyfully, nuzzling her hands. They made music together, songs only hearts could understand. Ruby believed her lambs could chase away even the darkest cloud. But one day, a different kind of cloud began to rise. One morning, Ruby noticed something strange. She walked out to the field like she always did, calling her lambs with a cheerful voice. "Come on, sleepyheads! I've got oats and a song!" But when the lambs came bounding over the hill, one spot was empty. She counted once, she counted twice, and her smile faded. "One's missing," she whispered, setting the pail down. "Where's Clover?" Clover was the tiniest of the bunch, a shy little lamb who liked to hum while nibbling grass. Ruby looked everywhere, behind the barn, beneath the wheelbarrow, under the oak tree. No Clover. That night, she hardly slept, and the next morning, another lamb was gone. The skies turned cloudier each night, as if the stars themselves were hiding. Something was wrong. Ruby stayed up one night, wrapped in a blanket, peeking through the barn slats with her wide eyes. Her breath fogged the wood. Then she saw it. A shape moved through the trees, silent, floating, glowing green. Its body shimmered like wet emerald glass, but it had jagged plates like armor. It had no legs. Instead, a long, curling tail drifted like smoke. Its massive claws glided just above the ground, and in the middle of its terrifying face burned two bright yellow eyes. Ruby's heart pounded. The monster crept toward the sleeping lambs. It hovered low, extended one claw, and lifted a lamb like a feather. The lamb didn't even stir. Then, whoosh, it soared into the night sky, disappearing into the mist. Ruby gasped. "No one believes in monsters," she whispered, trembling. "But I just saw one." The next morning, the farm was quiet. Too quiet. Ruby knelt on the soft straw and gently hugged the remaining lambs. They huddled close to her legs, afraid. She looked toward the horizon and made a promise. "I'll find whoever's stealing my friends," she whispered, "even if I have to fly into the sky myself." And just like that, a plan began to grow. That night, Ruby crept into the barn with a bundle of soft wool. She pulled on the disguise carefully, patch by patch, until she looked like just another lamb curled in the hay. Her red ribbons peeked out slightly from under the woolen hood. She curled up near the others and waited. The barn creaked. The wind howled. And then she felt it. A breeze with no footsteps. A shadow darker than night. A glow that made the straw shimmer green. The monster had come. Its smoky tail curled in behind it. It floated silently, its claws moving like dancers in the dark. Then a claw lowered and picked up Ruby. She held her breath. The monster didn't notice the trick. It floated out of the barn, into the clouds, cradling Ruby like a prize. And the little girl in red disappeared into the sky. The sky grew darker as they climbed above the clouds. The monster soared over jagged cliffs through swirls of mist and moonlight. And then Ruby saw it. A giant cave carved into the mountainside, glowing with an eerie green light. The monster glided inside and gently set her down on the cold stone floor. It drifted away, leaving her alone among shadows. Ruby peeked out from beneath her woolen hood. Her heart thudded in her ears. She looked around and gasped. All around her, lambs were trapped. They weren't chained or caged, but they moved like ghosts, sweeping the stone floor, stacking rocks, sorting piles of green glowing crystals. Their eyes were quiet. Their mouths opened, but no sound came out. Not a single bleat, not even a whisper. Ruby took a step closer, and a tiny lamb looked up at her. It blinked, and a silent tear rolled down its cheek. "They can't sing," Ruby breathed. "Their voices, they're gone." Then Ruby saw it. Floating high in the middle of the cave, above a twisted rock altar, was a glowing green orb, pulsing like a heartbeat. Inside it swirled tiny glowing symbols, like silver music notes, tracked in a whirlpool. Every time the orb throbbed with light, Ruby felt a tingle in her chest, like someone squeezing her voice. She crept closer. She could feel it. The lamb's songs, their joy, their very sound were trapped inside that orb. And far off in the darkness, A monster sat curled, its tail slowly coiling in the shadows, glowing in time with the orb. Ruby's eyes widened. "It's feeding on their silence," she whispered. "The orb is his power." Just then, she hummed, very, very softly. A single glowing note trembled inside the orb and floated free. It drifted through the air and landed on the nose of a nearby lamb. The lamb blinked and gave the tiniest bleat. Ruby's eyes lit up. "That's it! If I crack it open, they'll be free!" Ruby waited until the monster slithered away deeper into the cave, its massive form curling into the shadows like a sleeping storm. She tiptoed to the lambs and whispered, "It's time. Hide behind the rocks. Stay quiet. We're going to take our voices back." The lambs nodded. One by one, they slipped behind boulders, crawled under roots, ducked behind crystals. Their tiny forms vanished into the darkness. Ruby climbed up to the altar, her hands shaking, but her heart strong. She placed both hands on the orb. It buzzed against her palms, cold and powerful. She closed her eyes and began to sing. Ruby sang softly at first, like a lullaby remembered from long ago. Her voice was warm, trembling with hope. It echoed gently through the cave, brushing the crystal walls. The orb flickered. She sang louder. The tune rose like a flame, full of love, full of fight. A swirl of glowing notes burst from the orb and scattered through the cave like shooting stars. From behind the rocks and roots, lambs gasped, their voices returning one by one. Ba, meh, da. Joyful noise filled the air. Their songs returned, rising like a mighty chorus. The orb began to crack. Lines of silver light danced across its surface. Then, crack! The orb shattered into 100 shining shards, floating like fireflies. A wave of silver light flooded the cave, sweeping across every lamb and crystal, even the darkest corner. The monster, still curled in shadow, let out a horrible screeching roar. Its tail thrashed, its pincers snapped. It rose up, eyes burning with rage. The monster charged toward Ruby, furious and afraid. But the lamb stood beside her now, glowing with courage and music. Ruby held her arms out wide and shouted, "You can't steal what sings from the heart!" The monster reared back. Its glowing armor cracked. The shattered orb's magic surrounded it, humming and rising. It let out a final scream, then turned stiff, stone gray, and silent. With a thunderous boom, the cavern began to collapse. Stalactites cracked and tumbled. Rocks split and fell. The glowing crystals dimmed as the cave trembled from deep inside. Ruby called, "This way! Run!" She and the lambs raced toward the entrance, their hooves clattering over stone. Behind them, the monster crumbled completely beneath falling debris, its terrible reign silenced forever. As Ruby and the lambs burst out of the cave, the sky turned golden. Morning light kissed the mountains, warm and kind. They stood together, looking back at the now quiet cave, its mouth sealed with rocks and magic. No trace of the beast remained. Ruby breathed in deeply. "You're safe," she said, nuzzling a lamb's head. "We're going home." Back on the farm, the windmill turned slowly in the breeze. The lambs ran through the meadow, bleating with joy. Ruby skipped behind them, her red ribbons dancing in the sunlight. She sang. The lambs joined in. Their voices rose together, free, fearless, and full of life. Silence can't steal what sings from the heart. With courage, every song restarts. We'll sing our stories loud and clear and chase away all doubt and fear. And from that day on, whenever you heard a lamb bleating in joy, somewhere a girl in red was smiling. The end. Wasn't that incredible? Ruby didn't need magic wands or swords. She had courage, clever thinking, and a voice that never gave up. What was your favorite part? Was it Ruby's clever disguise? The glowing orb of stolen voices? Or maybe the moment the lambs got their songs back? Next time you hear a quiet baa in the distance, maybe it's more than just a sound. Maybe it's a song that's braver than it seems. Thank you for joining me for Silence of the Lambs. If you loved this adventure, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, because there are so many more magical stories coming your way. Until next time, keep your heart brave, your eyes open, and your imagination singing. Goodbye, little storytellers. See you in the next tale.